Hi, my name is Dylan, and I'm taking a break from playing Spelunky 2 to review A Stranger to You, an album by the band Loathe. This is their fourth studio album. They're from Liverpool, England, and on their Wikipedia page they list influences such as Deftones, Meshuggah, and Slipknot. They've been around since 2011 in various forms. One thing that's interesting about this album for me personally is that I have never really listened to a full album in this space, which is kind of shoegazy, heavy metal, kind of screamo type stuff. I am usually listening to albums like EDM or jazz. One thing that stood out to me, especially as I was reading the Wikipedia page for this album, is they list some interesting influences. So not only do they have Deftones, Meshuggah, and Slipknot, but they also have influences like D'Angelo, Usher, Tame Impala, Flying Lotus, Robert Glasper, Tribe Called Quest, and Puma Blue. So that might explain why I connected with this album so much, despite it not being what I usually listen to, is because it kind of feels like I'm listening to an album from a band that listens to all of my favorite artists. It's probably going to be something similar to what I like. In kind of a weird way, it's going to feel familiar because we're listening to the same music. Okay, favorite part of the album is I loved how they were able to tastefully blend different genres together. The fact that they're able to blend elements like jungle, techno, and math rock, and it's all able to occupy the same project without feeling out of place is really impressive. And especially since they're able to approach these different genres in their own way, it feels unique. It doesn't feel like a shoe-in. It doesn't feel very juxtaposed. I mean, there's one song that feels kind of juxtaposed, but that's not a result of the different genres. I think it was really inventive and creative. For a band, and also to pick the right genres. They chose jungle, they chose techno, they chose math rock. All makes sense, you know. I don't want to hear trap music in a heavy metal album. It just doesn't sound good. Speaking of the interesting influences, like, you know, Puma Blue, Tribe Called Quest, and Usher, they had some interesting features on this album, which was Mansour Brown, who's a jazz guitarist. I've listened to his projects before and him on other projects before. I think he's been on some Alchemist projects. I know Jordan Rakai, who's also featured on this album, has also been on some Alchemist projects. I thought those were really interesting features to pick for a project like this, and I think it shows they're not fucking around when it comes to the jazz influence. Like, they are with the time. They know what's good. They know, you know, who's out there actually playing and making good music, you know, and it just kind of opens the door up for future albums. I'm like, who are they going to have on their next album? You know, they're going to have a Tom Misch. They're going to have an Alchemist would be amazing, you know, but who's to say? I just think it's interesting that they're able to cross boundaries like that. Moving on to the album, I'll just list a couple of songs. So, my favorite off the project was Block of Flats, Fortress Down, Harder to Pretend, and Meet My Maker. Block of Flats being the first one I heard off the project that made me want to really explore it. I think it's a really good introduction to Loathe as a band, especially since I was not a huge fan of them before this album. I think Block of Flats, especially with the long intro, you know, I found myself being like, okay, what is this about? And then the heavy section hit, and I was like, holy shit, this is, you know, this is something. And it's what made me want to listen to the whole album. So I think that's a really strong song. Harder to Pretend, very mathy. I like the jungle, kind of blending different genres in there. Yeah, I love math rock. I love different time signatures in metal, and I think they did it really well, especially since, I mean, no other song really on this project is kind of doing the same thing on this song, so it seems like they tried something different for a song, and I think they succeeded. Meet My Maker, more jungly drums, and then a bass riff, and a groove that goes around halfway through the song that's amazing. It's my favorite song off the project, personally. Oh yeah, I missed Fortress Down is also I thought was a really strong song. I really like the drop. I like the contrast between the bass and the guitars in the drop. I think it just is really very satisfying. Really well done. Yeah, and then I said my favorite thing off the album. Least favorite thing off the album, I think the sequencing. I think the beginning felt really heavy, and then it kind of let you down easy around like maybe 40 minutes in. And then I was kind of like, okay, is the album ending? And then it was like, oh, nope, you have 3 more songs. And I was like, oh, all right. It just felt, the ending felt really dragged out. And I would have liked to see it sequenced a little differently. Maybe a bit shorter, like maybe 45 minutes. So it fits on an LP would be nice. Yeah, I just don't think it needs to be an hour. I don't think albums need to be an hour, but maybe that's just me. I think that just, it's served well when it's kind of tight and short and you have the best cuts. Least favorite song off the album was The Way It Breaks. It was a really soft, emotional song, and I think there are different sections on this album in different songs where they are really soft and emotional, just in contrast to the really heavy sections, and I think they do it well. This song, I don't think they did it well. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm not going to be listening to this song again. It just didn't do it for me. I mean, it wasn't unlistenable, but I think there are just different times on this album where they've approached the same goal, which is to make something feel soft and emotional, and they've done it successfully. Like on I think the end of Gifted Every Strength was really nice. It just felt like a warm hug. And then, the ladder, it shows range, and they could have ended on it, I think. The Way It Breaks didn't do it for me. I guess, would I recommend you listen to it, skip it, or avoid it? I would recommend you listen to it. I think it stands apart, and I think it doesn't feel like screaming for the sake of screaming. It feels like a piece of art that really stands on its own. Yeah, I think if you haven't checked out stuff in this genre before, I think it's a really good introduction. Because, it was the introduction to me, Especially if you like EDM. It's interesting, kind of the crossover. It feels really heavy in a similar way to how, like, a bass drop would feel on a Skrillex album, which was previously my go-to album. If I wanted to listen to something heavy in the car, was the Andy Warhol album. So yeah, I'd recommend you listen to it. Out of 5, I'd rate it probably 4.5. If it was 45 minutes and a little tighter and it didn't feel dragged out towards the end, I think it'd get a 5. It just felt a little dragged out. Maybe 4.7. Maybe 4.7. Comment down below how you felt about this album and what I should review next. Subscribe, and hit the bell for a notification. Here's my most recent video, and here's a video that you might like if you liked this one.